Hi, I'm Linda, teen librarian at the Traverse Area District Library, and this week we are making face masks. So if you haven't got your kit yet, get to the Traverse Area District Library on Woodmere in Traverse City and pick up your crafting kit for the week. So inside your kit you're going to find a piece of fabric. You'll have either a dragon fabric or a mermaid scales. They're written on the outside of the bag, so you can choose which one you prefer. Today though, I am not going to use one of these fabrics because it'll be hard to see my stitches because it's so busy and cool, awesome. Instead, I am going to use leftover piece of the castle fabric from when we made pillows. So the fabric will be in your bag and a sewing kit, pair of scissors, a pipe cleaner, and 2 elastic bands for your ears, as well as, of course, the instructions. So let's get started. Time to sew. If you'll notice on the fabric itself, it has been I've taken and folded over the edges of the 2 short edges and ironed them, so you already have your first stitching line already prepared for you. So let's go ahead and sew that. I am going to use red thread. I cut a piece of thread about the length, as far out as my arm will go from holding this in front of me to the outside of my arm. I don't want the thread to be too long that it's unwieldy. I want to be able to manage it without tangling it up or anything. Inside your sewing kit, you will find some needles. Needles are the ones with the holes in the top. The hole in the top of the needle is called the eye. And the ones without a hole, those are straight pins. So set those aside and pull out your needle threader. This is a needle threader. What the needle threader does is you put it through the eye of the needle and it makes it easier to put thread onto the needle. So push that through the eye of the needle and then look, you see that nice large opening to put the thread through? So much easier than the tiny opening on the needle. Pull that through just a little bit and then you're going to slide the needle right off of there and take the needle threader off and pull the thread down until the 2 ends meet at the bottom. Then we're going to knot it. To knot the thread, first I'm going to get my fingers a little bit damp. This will make the thread grab on better. I'm going to slide that so I have the 2 pieces of thread on my index finger and wrap it around so it's crossing just like so. And then I'm going to roll it down the finger and grab the end of the thread with my middle finger and my thumb and pull it, and I will have a nice little knot like that. I will show you that again the next time we sew. To sew, it's pretty simple. The 2 pieces of fabric you're going to be put together, so it would be this fabric plus the folded over part, and you stick your needle through the fabric and pull. Once you get to the end, you just turn around and go, let me make it so you can see it there, go back down through the fabric. A little closer, that was a little big, and pull. And you just do that up and down. First you go up, and then you go down, all the way the length of the seam that you want to sew. Now, if you would like it to go a little faster and you have a little dexterity, then you're just going to go up and down, folding the fabric like that, and then back up and down, and notice I haven't pulled the thread through yet. Up and down, until you have like the fabric is in an accordion shape on your needle. And pull that through and then straighten it out with your finger. And you just do that all the way across to the end. Okay, once you get to the end, you want to make sure you smooth it out so you don't have any of the fabric bunched up on your thread. Make it nice and smooth, and then you want to knot this off. I'm going to come back to this side just because it'll be easier to show you. To knot it off, you go down into the fabric and up, like so, just like you're doing the first of the quicker stitches. Pull it through until you have yourself a nice little loop. Let me make that loop so you can see it. So you have a nice little loop there, and go up through the loop. Oops. Let's straighten that out there. Up through the loop once, and keep going the same direction twice. And my thread is getting a little bit tangled there. 3 times, and then just pull, and it will form a knot, and that slides to the bottom right where your fabric is. And then you can cut that off and start sewing the other seam. So let's show you how to knot this one more time. Get your finger a little bit wet. It could be that my fingers are just dry and that's why I need to get them wet. If you don't need to, you don't have to. But I have pretty dry hands, so the water helps to give it a little friction. Take your thread and loop it over itself, roll it to the front, grab with your middle finger and your thumb and pull, and you have the knot. I am going to now go ahead and sew this edge. Now this should be enough thread to get me to the other end, but if not, and if you don't have quite enough to go all the way, when you get to where your thread is starting to run out, go ahead and make sure you're on this wrong side. I don't think I explained that yet. So the nice side of the fabric you want to see, is called the right side of the fabric. The fabric that is going to be inside your sewing is the wrong side. On the dragon fabric, you would see this is kind of faded a little bit. That is the wrong side of the fabric. And when you flip it over, you have the bright, really beautiful part. That is the right side of the fabric. So make sure, if you need to put a knot in the center here, it doesn't matter on the ends because they're going to be sewn over. But in the center, if you need to put a knot, make sure it's on the wrong side of the fabric. Go ahead and sew across. Now that you've sewn both these edges here, you need to turn your fabric right side up. I'm going to cut off these little pesky little things there that are in my way. Turn it right side up. You can see the seam right there. And we are going to start folding it into the shape we will need to make our mask. The top part, you want to fold that down just about 1/4 of an inch. You can do it just kind of visually. On this section will be at the top on the bridge of your nose, and this is going to go underneath it to form the bridge. So you don't need it to be very big, but you need just enough. So don't do anything but fold it right there, right now, and then fold up the bottom to meet that section. So you have a nice little meeting section where they both meet. Now we are going to put the elastic in. These are your ear pieces. I am going to now unfold this and lay this piece right here where it's going to be. You want it coming into the fabric, not to the outside. Take a straight pin and pin that right there. And on the other side, I'm going to pin the other one on the exact same spot. So you're pinning these so that they'll be at the very top and the very bottom when you get it all done. Let's get this one in here. There we go. So see, when you fold it over, they're going to be inside that top section. Now the tricky part is to pin in the bottom, which you want to be somewhere down in here, down near the bottom, but it has to be inside here. So once I figure out where I want it, I'm going to mark it with my finger, open it up, lay it there, and then also pin that one. I'm pinning with the head of the pin, that's the non-pointing part, sticking out so I can easily pull the pins out after I've sewn through there. Try not to pin yourself when you do this. And this one is, you want this one on the other side to be in the exact same space. Just put it down there and pin it in. Okay, fold it all back up. Make sure everything still lines up nicely. Maybe I gotta do that first. If you need, I'm gonna need to put a pin right up here to hold this in place so it doesn't keep moving on me. And this, I'm gonna put a pin up here too also so it doesn't keep moving on me. And you can use the safety pins if you prefer, or you can use the straight pins. For these sides though, for the elastic, you definitely want to use straight pins, not safety pins. At this point, you don't see the elastic at all, it's all inside. We're going to sew this here on these edges, and then we'll turn it right side out and you'll see the elastic. When you're sewing this edge here, you want to make sure that when you get to a spot where you have the elastic, you want to put in maybe 4 or 5 stitches right into that spot there, and that will help stabilize it and make it stronger so it won't rip on you. I'm gonna go up and down quite a few times right here at the beginning because that's where my elastic starts. So it's just like my needle is going to stay in place for a few. After I've gotten just a couple stitches into there, I'm going to pull the needle out. Not the needle, but the pull the pin out and go up and down a couple more times. And then I am going to start sewing the length of this. I'm going to sew exactly like we did on these here, just up and down, all the way to the end. I started on the wrong side, I'm not left-handed. As you're coming up on the end here where the elastic is, you want to once again make sure that you go up and down multiple times. After a couple times, I want to get that pin out. So it doesn't loosen up my stitching. So we're gonna up and down, up and down. Once you start doing hand sewing, you realize it is a lot of repetitive, just up and down. But you can make some incredible things with that basic stitch. Okay, I think that's enough. And I'm gonna finish off this side, and then I'm going to start and do the exact same thing on the other side. Get to the end here, knot it by going through, making a loop, and going up through the loop once, twice, 3 times, pull it. If you need to use your nail to kind of push the knot down to the bottom there, and cut it off. Now for the other side. I am done sewing both of these sides, so you can see every seam we've done so far. You have the top seam, the top and the second seam, and then you have the both side seams. But unpin these, and then we are going to turn it right side out. So look, you're seeing the elastic now. Turn it inside out and it will kind of look a little bit like a bag. As a matter of fact, this is an easy way to make a bag. There you go. You have that seam there. Our next step is going to be to put the nose bridge in. So if you have a pokey edge, you want to like straighten that out. Some of them, when I cut them in half, I'm going to just cut that end off. Make sure I don't have a pokey end. And then just lay it inside that pocket and fold it down. Take another straight pin and pin it right on there. We are going to do one seam right here. The object of this is to sew it so that the pipe cleaner kind of stays where it is. So if you sew a little bit above where you sewed before, as long as the pipe cleaner is above where you're sewing, you're all good. Grab your next piece of thread and let's get sewing. I have my thread here, my needle's threaded, I have it knotted off. I want to make sure that the knot part is not visible to the front of the mask. This is the front of the mask where you don't see any threads right now at all. I want the knot part to not be visible there. Say that multiple times. And I really don't want to feel a bumpy knot on my face, so I am going to slide my needle inside the fabric, right where the pocket is, and pull it up. And there my knot is inside the fabric now. Now I can just sew along the same way I did on every other edge. And then we'll tie it off at the end. Now I've sewn all the way down. I'm going to remove that needle, the pin. I'm going to remove the pin, and my thread is all the way down, and to the end there I want to tie it off, knot it off inside the pocket again. So put your needle right in to only one edge and come up inside the pocket. And just grab a little bit of the fabric inside the pocket to make your loop where you're going to tie it off. This prevents the loop, the knot, from, as I said with the other side, being right where it's going to bug your face. Knot that and cut it off, and there you have. So this is the nose piece. This is what it looks like from the front. Just that one line of stitches, which is why you may want to use a piece of thread that matches your fabric. But I kind of like the red detail there. I think it's going to look kind of cool. Besides, I'm going to have some red stitching down the edge too. And if I wanted to be super fancy, I'd do a red stitch along the bottom to make it look very kind of finished and complete. Our next step is to make it the size of a actual face mask, because right now this is way too big for a face mask. So grab it in there and pinch it up. So you're going to put 2 pleats in, pinch it up and fold it over. And then just take a straight pin and somewhere in there, hold that pinch in. And then do it one more time, pinch it up and fold it over. And pin that in. So this is looking more like a face mask. You have those folds. This can grow when it's on your face. I don't want to pull it out right now because it's only pinned in. You have the top pocket here has your nose bridge, and the bottom pocket you're not going to sew closed because this is where you can put an extra filter if you're in a situation where you need more layers to protect yourself or to protect others. You have a couple options here. On this, you can sew only like sew a dot here and a dot here to hold these closed, or you can sew down the length of the entire thing. I think I am going to sew down the length of the entire side. I think that'll look good with the seam I have right there at the top. So do the same thing you did before on when you were sewing this in the nose piece. Go into the pocket here and then just go through so that your knot is now not visible. When you're sewing down here, you want to make sure that you get through all the layers of fabric, which is why I am doing the up and down method and not the accordion method, because it's difficult to get all layers of fabric with the accordion method. And then as you switch to the next pleat, I'm going to pull that pin out and hold it with my fingers so I can smooth it out. As I get to the next pleat, catch all of those on that pleat. My pleats are not overlapping. You can make them overlap if you want, but that makes it rather difficult to sew through and not as comfortable to wear. So I would recommend not having your pleats overlap. When you get to the end of this edge here, there is no place to hide your knot. So make sure it is on the underside of your mask and not on the face side. Or you could just turn the corner and keep sewing all the way along. I think that's what I'm going to do with this one because the thread is so visible. I kind of want to look like it was intentional, so I'm going to sew all the way down the bottom too, just to make it look intentional. Got all the way down to this end here, ready to go up the next side, and I obviously do not have enough thread to go up and down, especially since it's so thick. It takes a lot more thread to go through these pleats than it does when you're just going on a straight path. So I'm going to take my thread to the other side and put a knot in here on the back side. I have one seam left to do, so I'm not going to need to get quite as much thread as I was getting before. This is probably going to be more than enough. Now for my last seam, I'm going to start back up at this edge simply because I want to tuck my large unwieldy knot inside the pocket. Okay, as we get to the end, come back up and do your knot on the back side. Now when you wear face masks, you should wash it frequently. What I do is I've made a few face masks, and when I get home from work or from the store, I throw it right into the laundry, and the next time I go out, I grab a different one. Let's see. Make that a little bit shorter. I don't have that tickling my face. There we go. There you have it. We have our face mask. It opens up. You can put it on. I might need to tighten. I can tighten these up by putting a knot in either end if it's too big. So let me tighten those up just a little bit and see how it fits. Nice and snug, that's how you want it. Nothing is going to come over, and nothing's going to come through the sides or under. Now that you've made your first face mask and you have your instructions, it shows up there how large a piece of fabric you need to make this, and you can just cut up old t-shirts or an old dress shirt. Just make sure the fabric that you're using is 100% cotton, has a fairly tight weave. You don't want a super loose weave because then all the germs will go right through it. So tight weave, 3 layers or 2 or 3 layers. This has 2 layers, but it also has the filter pocket, so you can put in another layer. And what I would recommend would be, if you have any coffee filters laying around, those make excellent, they make excellent filters. Also, you could use just paper towels or anything like that, but make sure you take it out before you wash it because you don't want the paper and stuff in the wash. Take it out, throw it away, throw this in the wash your hands. When you take it, put it on, and you size it, push it right in there to make it fit right, and then take it off by the elastic. So go ahead and make yourself enough face masks to get through the week at school coming up here in September. And come to the library and show us your face masks too. That would be awesome. I would love to see what you've done with the fabric that I sent you. Till next time.